This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Well, a very happy 2020 and welcome to the first show of 2020. And it is Small Biz Florida with Mr. Tom Kindred.
Thank you, sir, and Happy New Year to you, sir. It is a new year, and I want to welcome everyone to another segment and installment of Small Biz Florida, brought to you by the Florida Small Business Development Center here at Indian River State College. Small Biz Florida is designed and produced to create awareness for the business assistance programs available here at IRSC and the Florida SBDC network. We will spend time during our hour together this evening to highlight entrepreneurial success, best practices, and discuss all things business around the Treasure Coast and the state of Florida. I am Tom Kindred, and I serve as the Regional Director for the Florida SBDC at IRSC. Underwriters for this segment of Small Biz Florida are the Florida SBDC at Indian River State College and our friends at Express Printing of Port St. Lucie. So, Greg, it is a new year, and we are live tonight. So all is good with WPSL and WSTU for another year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're cranking away.
Antennas are up. Airwaves are full.
That's right. NFL playoffs begin this weekend.
That's right.
Yeah, and our basketball team's on the road. So
yeah, and I guess you're back from a recent basketball game at Indian River State College. They kicked off the new year with a basketball game, did they not?
Yes, they did. 117-86 win over Florida National University. Nice one.
Nice. Okay.
Yep. 11-6 on the year so far.
All right. Nice.
7 straight wins.
All right. So WPSL, WSTU had a great Christmas Kids event this past holiday. Did you have you guys were covered up?
Yeah, it was great. We have the fundraising side. We have enough for the back-to-school clothes for the homeless students.
Nice.
So we're all set to go on that. The golf tournament that we have is enough to fund, I think it's 150 campers for swimming lessons.
I started to say this
summer.
Yeah. Kind of the core of this is swimming lessons for.
Well, actually, the core was toys.
Right.
And we've sort of gone year round.
Right.
And occasionally we drop into the radio station.
Right.
Yeah, it's been great.
Okay, so had a good season for that, and again, we're looking forward to another season and another year of Small Biz Florida. We're looking forward to we've got 2 issues of Treasure Coast Business behind us. We did a spring and a fall edition. I hope everyone has had a chance to see those 2 publications. Very pleased and proud of those 2 publications. It's an idea that's we've been working on for a number of years, to make sure that we're highlighting Treasure Coast business and what's going on in the business community. So another edition, Indian River Magazine, our partner on that program and project, is launching it as a year-round publication. So there'll be four editions, I believe, come out in 2020. The first one will come out in January. Big story about innovations in agriculture and got an incredibly new, innovative tree. I won't spoil the story, but there's potentially a replacement for citrus, and so
a
new tree that produces an incredible product. So,
and aquaculture too seems to be doing quite well. Yeah.
So we kind of worked on dedicating some pages to innovations in ag, because our marketplace is still very dependent upon agriculture. And so look for that Treasure Coast Business Magazine to come out in January. There's still time to advertise. If you're interested in being part of that publication, you can always contact me at tkindred@irsc.edu, or you can call me at 462-7087, and I'll put you in touch with the folks that control the advertising for Treasure Coast Business. So got that coming out. And then I brought with me kind of the preview of all the trainings and workshops that are kicking off in January. Again, I encourage everyone, business owners and the like, to check out the IRSCbiz.com site. And if you go to that site, you can click on the events calendar and you can look at what's going on by month. But again, just a whole listing of great trainings and programs. Beginning photography, intermediate photography will launch early in the month of January, on the 9th of January. Then we've got what we call the Smart Start, the Florida SBDC orientation. That's also going to take place on the 9th. Thinking about starting your own business. As any seasoned entrepreneur will tell you, starting a new business is not easy. We talk about that all the time on this show. From testing the market to assessing capital needs, there are many roadblocks and you may encounter along the way. The Florida SBDC Smart Start Workshop is designed to provide you with a fundamental overview of what it takes to start a small business in the state of Florida. The workshop is designed for potential entrepreneurs in the startup phase of establishing a new business. It is really kind of your first step in your journey toward reaching your goals with the guidance and resources that are available through the Florida SBDC at Indian River State College. So that takes place on January the 9th. It's just a one-night orientation. So that is an excellent program for those of you thinking about starting a business to participate in. Again, always important classes for those in business. Excel, basics to intermediate Excel courses. Topics covered in this course: orientation to Excel, navigating workbooks and worksheets. So all kinds of tips. And
What's Excel?
Yeah, exactly. It's a spreadsheet program that helps you see how much money you're making. Or maybe
I wouldn't know about that.
In my case, maybe it was how much money I wasn't making. I don't know. And maybe I should have taken the Excel class. Maybe I would have made some more money. Then we've got an incredibly innovative and program. We partner with Center State Bank on this program. We call it the Partners in Prosperity Program. It's an institute for nonprofit excellence. This is a series of training workshops for nonprofits. Creating successful leaders in the nonprofit sector, improve employee retention, create a pipeline for in-house promotion, increase workplace harmony, take advantage of this unique opportunity for nonprofit leaders to enhance their leadership skills. Center State Bank is offering this no-cost training program to nonprofit leaders, managers, directors, and supervisors from the Treasure Coast who are seeking to improve their management abilities. Professional instruction will be conducted by the Corporate and Community Training Institute, our very own CCTI, at Indian River State College, and it is designed to provide the skills that will foster more cohesive, successful, and productive workplaces. Workshop topics include leadership, effective communication, team building and motivation, conflict and challenging employees, diversity, and time management. I will tell you that the first time we ran this series of training programs for the nonprofit community, it filled up. And it filled up within probably a week.
I'm not surprised.
Seating is limited, so I would encourage you to get to the IRSCbiz.com site, click on the events calendar. If you are a nonprofit manager or work with a nonprofit, you are eligible to take part in this no-cost training program provided to us by Center State Bank. So again, all kinds of stuff. We're kicking off the year, got a busy calendar. So be sure and check out that website and take advantage of all those training programs. All right. I think that's it for announcements. We made it through the hurricane season with only a brush by Dorian, but I do want to remind everyone that they have opened up St. Lucie and Indian River County, maybe even Martin County. I'll have to go check that. But for potential, if you are a business that suffered any sort of economic damage, not physical damage, but economic damage, there is some funding available out there for you through the SBA. So again, if your business experienced any sort of economic damage because of the pass-through of Dorian, that has now been opened, just opened literally a matter of weeks ago. For businesses along the Treasure Coast to take advantage of low-interest loans from the SBA. So keep that in mind, too, as you get back after the holiday season into the full swing of business. So anything else, Greg, that we need to talk about as we begin a new year and a new season of Small Biz Florida?
Wow, it's gone so quickly. We're in our 5th year now, and the first year.
I still don't believe you, Greg. I'm going to go back and check the records.
Go ahead.
There's no way we've been doing this for 4 years.
Yeah, I know, it's amazing.
4
It's amazing.
years.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I don't know where those 4 years went or what I did, but
Yeah, it was called Startup Talk, I think.
listen, tonight I am just so happy and pleased. I have been thinking about having these folks on the show for years. I should have done it years ago, but you know how that goes. You get busy, and I make myself all kinds of notes, and then I lose them someplace and forget. But iconic business owner and operator tonight on the show with us. I'm just so happy to have her on. Really been a big part of my growing up and in this community. But tonight we've got with us Miss Janie Hinkle, owner and operator of Jiffy Photo.
Wait a minute. When did you grow up? That's the question that's got to be asked.
Probably. If you ask my parents, I may not be grown up yet. So, but again, an iconic business around these parts, Jiffy Photo Center, and I've got the owner and the operator, Miss Janie Hinkle, with us tonight from Jiffy Photo. Welcome to the show, Janie.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Yes, I'm just thrilled to have you on tonight. I can't wait for our conversation. I mean, I was kind of a photography buff growing up as a child, so I spent a lot of time at your drive-through window. Dropping off and picking up. So it really was a big part of my growing up, and so I'm looking forward to the conversation. We've also got with us this evening. We've got a great story to tell tonight, but a big part of the story that we're going to tell tonight is our next guest, Miss Rebecca Street. Welcome to the show, Rebecca.
Thanks, Tom.
Rebecca is gonna play a big role in the transition and the future of Jiffy framing, and so again, I'm just happy to have these two on tonight to talk about this iconic business. So, Janie, let's just kind of start with a little bit of history on you and kind of your pathway to the ownership of Jiffy Photo. How did all this begin? So many years ago, and it's hard to believe because you're still so young.
Yes, thank you.
Right. Aren't we all? Yes.
Well, my pathway started I married Mike Hinkle in 1979, and he had bought Jiffy Photo in 77. So that's how I kind of married into the business.
Nice.
I didn't actually join the staff there until 81, and I joined because I opened my mouth like I always do and said, "Why don't you have a lab here at Jiffy Photo?" And he said, "I don't know. Why don't you go ahead and open one?" So we went to Minneapolis, got trained on lab equipment, had the lab equipment shipped down, and we opened our first lab.
And when you say lab, kind of, you may have to give us the beginner's photography class
here. It's
here.
not chemistry. We were actually doing our own photo, developing film and processing prints.
Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself in the interview here, but Jiffy was really cutting edge at the time. I mean, this was before every CVS and Walgreens had their mini labs, right?
And before us, Joe Corso owned the store, and he did have a lab, black and white lab.
Wow.
Upstairs, many people don't know that. He actually told me the last time I spoke to him that he used to have nightmares about the film, somebody coming in and flipping the light on when it was supposed to be dark, and you develop in the dark.
Right.
And I had those same nightmares for years.
Well, and I'd say I was a little bit of a buff. When I was a student at St. Andrews in middle school, I don't know whether you ever knew Frank Neff, but Frank was kind of a photographer, and Frank helped us, some of us students. We formed a little photography club at St. Andrews, and we built a little dark room. And you're right, we had to make sure the door was always closed.
Right,
on those
Frank
dark
was a
rooms.
good customer. I do remember Frank
Right.
Neff.
Yep. And so he helped us form a little photography club, and that was my first introduction to it, and really enjoyed the whole, hobby of photography. And again, you really couldn't do photography back in the 70s without engaging with Jiffy Photo.
No.
It was really the only place to go.
We were before the drugstores and.
Right. So a little history on the business itself. We were talking a little earlier before the show. Kind of take us through the history of Jiffy Photo.
I don't know what year Joe opened it, but I do know that I have pictures of the building before the second story was put on.
Wow.
And I remember as a child, after Joe put the second story on, going to birthday parties up there. And many people walk in and say, I used to come to birthday parties up here. And I know they're local because
I never knew.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he had a little ice cream bar up there, and he used to show Laurel and Hardy movies.
Wow.
And you could come there.
That's awesome.
You could come there, and he would take your picture, of course, and he would serve ice cream, and you'd open presents, and you'd show movies, and it was.
Well, the research
it was before having your birthday at McDonald's. You had your birthday at Jiffy Photo upstairs with Joe.
The research I did was it talked about it being founded by Joe Corso in the 50s, and the photographs that I've seen. There was a car dealership next to Jiffy.
Right.
And those are definitely 50 models cars.
Right, they are definitely 50 models car. And now, of course, that building is a Mexican restaurant. But the picture I have does not have the second story on it. And
Wow.
we think that picture was about 1960 by the models of the cars.
Right. Wow. And then, so Joe, I guess, opened it, and it talked about Joe opening really one of the first black and white photo labs in the state. So, I mean, he was an innovator at the time.
He was kind of hyperactive. He was always doing something, He had floats in the parade, and he was very involved, as you said earlier, with the Boy Scouts, and he was just an all around.
Yeah, he was a legend in the Boy Scouts.
Yes,
he was
a doer. He was a doer.
Yeah, and then he, I guess, sold it to. You were telling us, of course, the big. At the time they weren't referred to, but kind of the big box store bought Jiffy Photo, and they bought it because they wanted a presence. Talk a little bit about the short-lived corporate era of Jiffy.
I think it was about a year. All Prince Photo from Ohio, and they decided we were just way too far from Ohio. So they asked if anyone that worked there wanted to buy the store, and my husband worked there.
Did they do any due diligence at all?
I guess they did not, no.
Oh, my goodness.
So he and his partner, John Krall, bought the business from All Prince and bought the building from Joe. And
so I assume your husband, Mike.
1977.
Your husband, Mike Hinkle, I mean, you say worked at the store, so I mean, he was obviously... Was that his background? Was he a photojournalist or something? How did he get into
John was a
photography?
photojournalist, but Mike he wrote.
Okay.
And he really liked to write for the newspaper and things like that. So
Nice.
he got interested, I think, through John in photography. And they wound up buying a photo store.
Wow. And the rest is history.
And the rest is history.
So let's talk a little bit business. I of course, that's what I love talking about, and I love hearing from folks that have done the great things that you've done with the business through the years. But obviously, through the years, you've seen many changes in small business. I mean, talk about the changes. I mean, especially for you, because the changes were so rapid in this photography. I mean, and one of the textbook case studies that I think a lot of business students study is the whole Kodak model, where Kodak really kind of shied away from digital. They thought film would never go away,
Right.
and it was kind of a classic error on the part of Kodak that they never really took the lead in digital. But I mean, talk about the changes you've seen in business. And
Well, for the first 10 years, I think things were pretty static. They just got better cameras. And then Kodak came out with the disc film and then the APS film because they shied away from digital, but they were always trying to make something harder for the photo finishers. I had to buy a new machine.
Right, well,
and
yeah,
I refused to buy new machines.
From
So-
Kodak?
Right.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
no, I never bought a machine from Kodak. But it was a challenge to develop all these new different kinds of films that they kept coming up with. So fortunately, there were a couple of local people who had labs, photo labs, that would do my disc film and they would do my APS film, and we just kept processing 35 millimeter, just over and over again. And I'm probably working on my 4th 35 millimeter lab.
Wow. And in terms of textbook business operations, I mean, marketing and inventory, I mean, how's all that changed through the years? Because your store was pretty intense about inventory. It was really, again, prior to the Best Buys and prior to the Walmarts, you were here because if you were going to buy a camera, if you were going to buy a camera bag or a tripod, you were the only place to go.
Well, we're not a shining example as far as inventory control goes because to this day I don't have a point of sale system in my store. So,
But you made it work, obviously.
Well, we made it work, yeah, we did. But I would not say you would use us as a role model for that sort of thing. But as digital came on, it did come fast.
Right.
And the changes did happen fast. Once they started to happen, they happened very fast. And that dictated what kind of lab I had to buy next.
Right.
Because we would have to hook a computer to it. Whereas before, we didn't have any computers involved in any of the processing or in any of the printing. It was just a kind of a glorified electric enlarger that
Right.
printed the film, that we kind of fed it through, by hand. And now it's scanners and, you stick your little memory card in there
Right.
and pull them up on the computer, all the little shots that you
Right.
want to print. So that happened really fast.
Talk about, again, your business was so susceptible to so many changes in the marketplace. Talk about the buying habits. I mean, again, 20 years ago, you had to come to your store to buy a camera. Now, I guess you don't have to leave your couch. Talk about
No, you
buying
don't have
habits.
to leave your couch. And one of the things that has always, in the last 10 years particularly, has been challenging for us is we are in direct competition with the big box stores, in New York particularly, and Amazon. And the kind of heartbreaking thing is that our prices are the same, but the perception by the consumer is that their prices are less. And I won't say that's why we're getting out of the business. We're getting out of the business because we're tired, and we've
Right.
been doing it for Mike 47 years, me 39 years. It's just time. We get to retire too, just like everybody else.
Right.
But was always kind of the frustrating thing for me, that people didn't
How'd you guys
really
like to buy a
see.
radio station?
Yeah, I know. Everybody that walks in goes, "You're closing?" Oh no! I said, "Well, you want to buy a photo store?" And just like deer in the headlights, they don't want to. No.
Well-
I said, "Well, why don't you sell it? Why don't you sell it? You mean you're closing it?" Do you want to buy a photo store? Well, no, but I'm sure somebody would. Well, would you please find them for me?
Well, and since you kind of touched on the subject, we might as well go ahead and kind of talk a little bit about it. But I want to, I kind of want to start by saying, when I think of Jiffy Photo, I mean, I cannot help but think of, the thousands and thousands, of memories that you helped create and preserve for thousands of local families. I mean, family photos, 8 millimeter.
Yeah.
We brought our 8 millimeter video. I don't even know if you called it video, at the time, but home movies. I mean, you really
well,
are.
people still bring them to us, but now we have them put on DVD for them, and we will keep doing that.
Right.
We have someone who is willing to pick up that ball and carry it on, so we will still be able to make those conversions from VHS, VHS-C, 8 millimeter, and reel film to DVD.
But I mean, you have been a small business that's had real impact on the community. I mean, talk about what that's really has meant to you and your husband to be a big part of this community and the memory preservation of this community.
It's been fun. I think the most rewarding thing is helping people who've had a loss in the family, and they have a time frame, and they're just lost. And if you can help those people and you can pick up the ball and run with it and get them out the door with what they need, that's the most rewarding thing for me, I think.
Part of the life cycle of any small business is change. I mean, we talk about that all the time. We teach that in our classes. And sometimes that change means selling the business or turning the business over to children and moving and closing. And I think you're at the beginning of this new chapter of your life and the life of Jiffy Photo. I mean, tell us, you kind of alluded to it, but tell us what's happening with Jiffy Photo. I mean, where are we headed?
Well, we're headed to closing sometime in the next probably 30 to 45 days, depending on how low we can get the inventory, because we need to clear out this building.
Right.
We're having a big event next weekend. We do it once a year for local photographers. They can bring their cameras in and have them cleaned professionally. We import people from Atlanta, and these people are coming down from Minnesota, I think, next week. And they clean sensors, they clean lenses, they calibrate lenses, which is you actually marry your lens to your body so that it focuses properly. And we normally do that event in March, but we kind of were thinking we weren't going to be around in March, so we thought we'd go for, January instead. So we have that coming up next week. And we're hoping that we can have really great prices and have everybody buy what they need for the next year at Jiffy Photo next weekend. And
so part of this event, which will take place Friday, January the 10th, and Saturday, January the 11th,
right.
Part of the event is you are going to have some price reductions to try to reduce the inventory as you kind of near closing date.
Right, we will have massive price reductions.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't want to put words in your mouth.
Yes.
And
I don't have a specific closing date, but
right.
it'll be when things get down to where we look like we're getting pretty empty there.
All right.
And you can do your own radio spot, obviously, too. You're doing great. You're doing great.
So I think there's a transition, and I think while we're going to lose this iconic business, there's some good news here. We're going to continue on. There's going to be a little transition. You've already talked about some of the services that'll still be available, but let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and we'll talk about a new beginning for Jiffy Photo. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Small Biz Florida.
With any business, the most valuable asset are the people and the teams, no matter how small or large the organization. Hi, I'm Catherine Culhane, Associate Director for the Florida SBDC at Indian River State College. Let us help your organization turbocharge your team. As a certified driving forces analyst, I will help management work more effectively with your people, increase and improve communication, reduce conflict and stress, better understand strengths and weaknesses so that your people are properly aligned in their jobs. Hire the right people. Let the Florida SBDC at IRSC transform your company using a customized assessment system, knowledge, and resources. Grow and accelerate your organization by turbocharging your team. To get started, contact the Florida SBDC at IRSC.
For confidential one-on-one business consulting at no cost, contact the Florida SBDC at IRSC at 336-6285. Online at irscbiz.com. Indian River State College is distinguished as the nation's top college and the recipient of the 2019 Aspen Prize for Community College Excellence. The Aspen Institute selected IRSC from more than 1,000 colleges after a rigorous review of data, strategies, and outcomes related to student learning, completion, high rates of employment, earnings for graduates, and exceptional access, plus success for minority and low-income students. Learn how IRSC makes student success its #1 priority at irsc.edu.
Hi, my name is Jameer Robinson, head women's basketball coach at Indian River State College. Our ladies are doing an excellent job on and off the basketball court. I've had the opportunity to coach 6 Southern Conference All-Stars, and we look forward to starting the 2019-20 season. The tradition of championships continue at IRSC. Come be a part of it.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
And we are back. And for those just joining us, this is Small Biz Florida from the Florida SBDC at Indian River State College. Great show tonight, talking to iconic business owner and operator, Miss Janie Hinkle, who owns and operates, along with her husband, Jiffy Photo. Again, we've been talking about the history of Jiffy Photo, kind of founded somewhere in the 50s by local legend Joe Corso. Anyone who was involved in scouting remembers Mr. Corso. He opened up in the 50s. At some point, Jiffy was owned by a corporate conglomerate. What was the name of that corporation?
All Prince Photo.
All Prince Photo. They realized this was a tough market pretty quickly, according to Janie, and about a year after their purchase of the business, Janie and her husband Mike and your partner, what was his name? John Crawl, purchased Jiffy and have owned it since 1977. Again, anyone who did any sort of photography or taking photographs of the family, taking home movies on their 8mm, you've been to Jiffy Photo. That's for sure. Janie has talked about a transition in the business in the next 30, 60 days, somewhere around there. Jiffy, in its current form, will close operations, but part of Jiffy will live on. There's a transition. Janie, back in, I think it was 2004,
Somewhere
like
around
that.
there.
Janie went into the framing business, and again, I have at least half a dozen Janie Hinkle frames in my home.
So do we here.
That's right. Beautiful work. So, Janie, talk a little bit about this transition. Jiffy framing will move on.
Well, the framing part of Jiffy is my passion. It's the creative part that goes with my training as an interior designer, and so that was really breaking my heart that we were going to have to close the frame shop. So someone came to me and said she would be interested in taking it over, and that person is Rebecca Street, and she has worked for me for, I guess it was a while. She left 4 years ago, had a baby, she's back.
On and off since 2010.
Yeah, on and off since 2010. So she's very excited about taking Jiffy Framing over, and Jiffy Framing has a new name, and Becca's going to tell you about that. and it's very close where we are now. We can actually walk if we wanted. We could walk to the new frame shop.
How convenient.
How convenient. Yeah.
So, again, welcome to the show, Rebecca Street.
Thank you.
Yep. So, Rebecca, we're all happy to hear that you are going to take on the challenge of taking Jiffy Framing, continue on with that side of the business. Start us with a little background on yourself. How did you get involved in all this?
Well, I grew up with an artist for a mother, and I myself am an artist. And I started picture framing when I was 18 up in Vero. And I'm a Florida native. And I love the area and the arts. And so I'm just really excited.
Talk a little bit about your mother. Local, well-known artist. Talk a little bit about that connection.
Well, my mother, we moved here in the early 90s, and my mother started her art career here in 1991. She mastered in the arts, so she's always been an artist. But here locally, since 1991, she got involved with the Bacchus Gallery and grew her ties and her network. And so even though we moved north to Vero Beach, she always stayed connected here. Nice. This is her.
And what is her specialty in the arts? Kind of unique.
She was originally a collage artist, but since in the last few years she's moved on to ceramics. I think she's like the three-dimensional stuff lately.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So you said you became involved with Jiffy back in 2010. Did you just kind of answer a help wanted ad, or how did you get involved with Jiffy?
Definitely not. That was completely dependent upon my mom's network. She knew Janie, and she knew Janie had a frame shop. And like I said, I'd been framing since 2004. So 6 years after I started framing, she connected me with Janie, and we took off. We partnered up.
Hey, the ultimate in networking,
Yeah.
right?
That's right.
That's
Networking.
awesome. That's
Wonderful.
awesome.
So again, you have been around Jiffy. You kind of knew the desire to maybe for Mike and Janie to kind of move on, and that's kind of where the idea came to continue to run Jiffy.
Yes,
Framing.
that and the local art community here is so strong and supportive, and there are no other frame shops at this moment in time. So it would be a real loss for the community if there weren't no more frame shops.
Well, so again, our show is kind of all about business. So, I mean, talk to us about your interest in owning and operating a small business. Has that always kind of been in the back of your mind, maybe?
Honestly, no, I didn't always want to own a business. But when I did start framing at 18 years old as a youth, I thought, wow, this is something I love. This is something I could see myself doing many years down the road. And as a business owner, I could, be lucrative. It could be lucrative. This could be something that I would enjoy.
Yeah.
At the time, 2004, wasn't the most economic opportunity. But
right. Well, both of you, Janie talks about her passion for interior design and your passion for the arts. I mean, we both are great examples of that old saying, do something you love and you'll never work another day in your life. So, I mean, you really have enjoyed this. It's obvious.
And I feel that same way about putting the business together. Honestly, it's a lot of work to put together a business, go through the legal stuff, and all of it has actually been really fun.
Well, now you know who can help you with all that, right?
You.
That's right.
Yes. Well, I will be knocking on your door. That's for sure.
It's the Florida SBDC at IRSC. There you go. So
all right.
We're here to help you, Rebecca.
Great.
And his office is a penthouse.
Right. If the third floor is the penthouse of the Brown Center, that's where my office is.
Great.
Janie kind of hinted to it. You are going to move the business from the current Jiffy location. So I actually won't have to climb those stairs anymore to see the frames?
Stairs.
No more
Woo!
stairs.
All right.
No.
Okay, that's good because but I did just get a new knee, so I maybe I would be better at it now. But
You're going to have to go back to the gym. I'm sorry.
where are we moving the business to?
So we're actually we're right around the corner from where Jiffy originally was. We are at the back of the Sunrise Plaza behind the Dollar Tree in Unit 802.
Nice.
Yes.
What's our anticipated opening date for the framing shop?
Well, I am aggressively shooting for February 3rd. That's the Monday, the first Monday in February.
Okay.
Yeah.
And not Jiffy Framing? What's the new name?
No, the new name is going to be Wallflower Custom Picture Framing.
Wallflower Custom Framing. I like it.
Yes.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah. We're all very excited. I didn't buy the corporation, so. new name.
Now, Janie, you're staying on for 5 years as a consultant?
She's more than welcome to.
No, I'm working for frames. That's it.
Okay. We'll work for frames.
We'll
I like
work
that.
for frames. That's right.
All right. So talk to us a little bit, Rebecca, about some of these challenges. I mean, what I was in the store the other day, and we were there to kind of talk about the show and do a little research, and there you were on the phone, really too busy to talk about the show because you were getting things set up for the business.
Yes.
Talk about some of those things you've learned that you didn't kind of know about starting a small business.
Well, I didn't understand the setup at first. Like, there are so many steps you have to go through to just get a piece of paper that says you can charge someone some money, and so I'm not even eligible for that until after my building inspection. So there's just you just have to figure out all these steps and then go through one at a time, just take little bites at a time, and I'm just getting through them, and it's exciting.
phone numbers,
internet,
right.
Insurance, inspections, building supplies, advertising,
right.
just
Bingo.
So much. It's just so much.
So the SBDC can help you with the business plan, and Greg can help you with advertising.
Okay, wonderful.
Look at what you've learned here tonight.
Already.
Alone on this show.
Yes.
It is kind of an eye-opener. We know a lot of times. Obviously, a lot of folks, just like yourself, passion for what you do.
I think that's what makes it easy, honestly, is if you love what you're doing, it's like, it doesn't feel like work. You're like, okay, so now I have to do this next. No big deal, because it's what I want to do.
So you've never, so in the last 30 days, you haven't gone, I don't know if I could do this. And
no, definitely not,
Yeah.
because I love it, Right.
Right.
I love this, and I want to carry on the legend and legacy of Janie and Mike's reputation, and so this is very exciting.
Have you ever written a business plan?
I haven't in the past, but I've been doing a lot of that lately.
Bingo. He can help.
That's right.
Oh.
That's right. That's where we come in. Yeah. Well, again, I just, when you look at the framing business, it's like a lot of things. And we, again, talking about the photography, we've seen a lot of people kind of come and go, but it's folks like yourself and folks like Jiffy that have really stuck with it. You're local owners and operators. You know the community. There's a sense of quality and a sense of giving back. Do you think that plays a big role in competing against some of these, the big box stores like the Michaels and that will do framing, I guess?
Well, in our industry, I don't really feel like there's a comparison. You get a much more individual and authentic experience when you come to us.
Nice.
They don't do a lot of things in-house, whereas we're really hands-on, and that makes a huge difference, I think.
And really, you're helping somebody create almost an artistic design.
From start to finish, exactly.
Right, that'll fit well in their home, the colors in the home. I mean, if I go to the box store, it's more just, what's the size? And,
yes.
Yeah.
And they send the orders out, and things come in, and they put them together. It's a lot less personal of an experience.
You actually make the frames. I mean, you don't.
I do not make the frames, and I will not make the frames anytime in the near future.
But you build all the parts and pieces.
Put all the components together, yes, and we do cut the mats and everything like that.
Right.
Yes.
So it really is, like you said, a really hands-on approach.
Yes,
and
with
authentic
design and everything.
Right.
Yes.
So in a way, you're part of the interior design team.
Exactly, and in all my years of framing, I've actually worked one-on-one with lots of interior designers. We talk about colors and all the fun things that go into that. Yeah, and like Janie said, she has experience in interior design. So,
right. Janie, was that kind of your thought from the day you started the framing, part of the business? Did you think, my background's in interior design, I could really help people build some nice pieces for their homes?
Well, sure, and they do bring in pictures of their homes, and I do go out to homes, and if someone is hanging up, they get a whole bunch of things, they move into a new home.
Right.
I'll just take all their pictures out there and hang them for them.
Nice.
Because that's so easy for me and it's so hard for them.
So
why not?
I didn't know about that part of the service, Janie. Mm-hmm. I would have used that part. I'm not very good with the measuring tape or the how high you hang these things and all those important parts of this. But
30 extra holes in the wall.
Right. I know. But when you think about framed artwork, I mean, it really does become part of someone's interior design of the home. It can make a big difference in the way the home looks.
And framing can be very expensive, but it doesn't have to be very expensive. And that's kind of That's sort of where I started with the frame shop at Jiffy, because a lot of the big box stores are very expensive, and they might even have a thrifty name in their name,
Right.
but they're not. And so that's kind of what I try to explain to people. You know, we try to shop smart for
Right.
people, and a lot of people come. Your art does not belong under your bed.
Right.
It belongs on your walls. So I feel like if you can give someone a really good deal, you can get them into a beautiful piece of art for a reasonable price, they will come back to you and they will bring everything that's under their bed. And it will finally be on their wall. And that's what it's really about.
Right. And you did some great frames for me. With the Florida Gators just happened to win a few titles over the years, and
You
so
know what?
well,
never
you know,
mind.
Doing what?
football and basketball, just maybe. But you did a great job. My son wanted to do his room a little bit in the Gator motif, and you did a great job of kind of doing some orange and blue things. So I mean, you have that artistic touch, and you know, you brought some creativity to it, and it's really it's a nice addition to a room. So and those posters were rolled up in a tube under the bed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
I made
Right.
that comment facetiously, but it's literally true.
Yes.
You've been in our
People are
house, I can
intimidated.
tell. That's,
Right, they are. Many prints are rolled up under many beds, I'm
Yes.
sure.
they are.
Right.
That's amazing.
I know.
Yeah.
So again, Rebecca, tell us, location again is going to be over in the Sunrise Plaza. That's
Yes,
kind of there in
802.
the intersection of Georgia and US 1
And Sunrise.
and Sunrise Boulevard.
Yeah, and
So-
the shop will actually fronts on 6th Street,
Okay.
which is as you're heading from US 1, as you're heading west on Georgia, it's the very first left.
Okay, nice. And I think Hoyt C. Murphy is in charge of that building over there, so it's
Yes.
a great
Yes.
building.
Wonderful man.
Yeah,
Yes.
well maintained. Did the big mural of the sailfish on.
It's so
yeah.
gorgeous.
They maintain that plaza so beautifully.
It is. It's a beautiful plaza. Some great businesses in that plaza. So it'll be a great location for you. You hope to be open by February the 3rd.
Yes.
Website now yet? Or
Not quite yet.
Okay.
I do have an Instagram. It's Wallflower Fort Pierce, and
Okay.
I also have a Facebook page up. It's Wallflower Custom Picture Framing. It's a mouthful.
All right. So we need to get out there and like your Facebook page.
Yes,
and-
for sure.
Okay. Well, we'll get that done. And phone number yet, or not? Don't have that yet.
Not quite
Okay.
yet.
All right.
I could
So-
give you my personal number, but
That's all right.
Don't want to do that.
No, that's all right. So we're looking forward to the store getting open. Real quickly, as we close in here, I want to go back to Janie just with a couple of quick questions. Talk about some of the biggest challenges. I mean, Rebecca told us about challenges of opening the business. Talk to us about some challenges that through the years of running that business, maintaining that business as long as you and Mike have done it.
Well, I read a book years ago while standing in Staples called The Cheese Has Moved.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And if you haven't,
Right.
if you own a small business and you haven't read that book, you don't have a clue.
Yeah. Who moved my cheese? I
Yes.
think. Yes. Who moved my
Yes.
cheese?
Who
Right.
moved my cheese?
Yeah, it is a great business
And so
book,
that's
yes.
what we've had to do through the years with Jiffy. As one revenue stream slowed down, like film slowed down,
Right.
we had to get new machinery so we could move into digital. And as people no longer watch their VHS tapes because you couldn't buy a VHS machine,
Right.
we had to find a person or buy a machine that would transfer it to DVD.
Right.
And so we're still doing that. And same thing with the 8mm reels.
Right.
We're still doing that. And that's one thing that's extremely important to people.
Right,
Is
so-
to find a way to preserve those memories and
right.
be able to view it on your computer.
Right. Well, and I stress to folks out there now, I just recently brought in some 8mm film.
Oh, that's right. That's
for
why you were
to-
there.
That's right, for you to convert to a flash drive. So while you're still there, I encourage people to take the time now and get that 8mm
Yeah,
out.
and it first has to go to DVD, and then it goes to the flash drive.
But I think, again, I think what you're saying, I think what is so important for people to understand in small businesses, you've really got to be flexible. You've got to respond to market changes. And no one knows that really better than you, because your industry, amongst many industries, really changed rapidly and changed in a big way.
Right.
I mean,
for good.
There was no going back.
And we still do process film, but it's mostly the kids. It's kids who want.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Meaning,
That one I don't understand. I'll have to do a
20s and
study
30s,
on that. But
they think it's cool. Film cameras are cool, and they buy film and they process it and they bring it in, once a week.
Right. So, kind of in closing, Janie, you've done it all. You've seen it all. You've had some great success in business. I'm sure you all would say, well, we made some mistakes. I certainly made my share of them. More mistakes than success with me. But you got Rebecca sitting here, and I know you all have had probably plenty of conversations. But what's the advice you gave Rebecca, and what do you give? What advice do you give to that young entrepreneur looking to start that small business?
Get up, dress up, and show up every single day.
Amen.
My God, hold on. Wait a minute. Let me get that one down. Get up, dress up, and show up
Every single day.
That's
I like
awesome.
I'll stick
I
to
love
that
it.
advice.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So with that, I'm gonna get up, dress up, and show up tomorrow morning. And I want to thank our guests tonight, Rebecca and Janie. Great work, Janie. Thank you for the years. You and Mike, thank you so much for what you've done for our community and the years of owning and operating a business. And Rebecca, thank you for taking the challenge and continuing on with Jiffy Framing.
Thank you.
We're behind you 110%.
Thank you so much.
And just
that means a lot.
call me Monday and we'll
For
get
sure.
you all set up.
I will.
SBDC.
Yes.
And with that, I want to thank everyone for tuning in to another segment of Small Biz Florida. I want to thank our guest tonight, Miss Janie Hinkle of Jiffy Photo and Framing, and Rebecca Street, who's going to carry on the torch, and remind everyone that all the business assistance programs and resources discussed on this segment are available through IRSC's Dan K. Richardson Entrepreneurial Development Institute and the Florida SBDC at Indian River State College. For more information on the Florida SBDC at IRSC and its programs, and to get a complete listing of upcoming business training events, you can visit that irscbiz.com site. As always, I want to thank Greg and our partners here at WPSL, WSTU, and WPSL TV, and Small Business Florida producer, Miss Katie Muldoon. Thank you for all you do in producing this show. So with that, we'll talk to you next Thursday evening on Small Biz Florida.
You've been listening to Small Biz Florida right here on WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast, webcaster to the world on Alexa and Google Home, and WSTU, Stewart, Martin County's Heritage Station.